Hi everybody, it's Tall Garage. Welcome to the video. We're gonna get right to it. I keep on getting the same comment from different people over and over again asking me why am I using LS heads when the original creation of this engine, the poster child for this engine that you can find over here, used Cleveland heads. That's what these engines were. They were made with Cleveland heads. Why aren't I using Cleveland heads? Why shouldn't they use Cleveland heads? What's the deal? We're going to talk about that right now. We're going to put a scoreboard up here, and I disappeared. Anyway, we're going to put a scoreboard up there, and we're gonna do LS versus Cleveland heads. Okay, and that's the video of the day. So I hope you all enjoy it. All right, so let's get right to it. So the first thing I think we should talk about is the thing that probably everybody should think about the most, right? It's cost, it's price, it's what's cheaper, what not even cheaper, right? That's not even the right word because you're not getting a less product. You're not getting a worse product for your money here, right? But you are saving money. So what is going to give you the best bang for buck, right? And so let's look at this right now. So I spent $50 on my set of heads, okay? On my set of LS heads. What LS heads did I buy? I've mentioned this before, I'm going to tell you. I bought casting 317 heads, 317. Okay, and you can easily identify them because it's going to be stamped right on top of the head, 317 on a little pad. All right. Why did I buy these heads? And I'm going to tell you why. They are the least desirable heads. They came on hundreds of thousands of vehicles. They're the least desirable head. Nobody really wants them. You can pick them up cheap, which is why I picked them up. Well, Ken, if these are least desirable heads, why would I want to put them on my engine? Good question, you. It's quite simple, okay? The reason these heads are least desirable is they have the largest chambers of any LS Gen 3 cylinder head. Any cathedral port, they have the largest chambers, okay? So they give you the lowest compression rating on your engine, okay? So if you put these on an LS engine and that you want it to feel peppy, that's no bueno. They flow just as good as any of the other cylinder heads, as the legendary 799s, the 243s, and they're just as good as the 706s. The flow is not the problem. People don't like them because of the chamber size. Now, us being men of culture, right, being people that have big brains, okay, we realize that we're welding these heads together. We're cutting and welding these heads together, and that's going to put a lot of heat into these aluminum cylinder heads. So what's going to happen? Well, they're going to try to turn into bananas. They're going to go like this or like this, and we are going to need to cut that surface of the head to get it flattened back out. And which is where the beauty of them large chambers come in. All of a sudden, you don't have large chambers anymore. You have smaller chambers. Okay. If we were to use something like a 706 head, for example, which are equally plentiful and only cost a little bit more, you might be able to snag a pair for 100, 200 bucks maybe. I'm not really sure. And you weld on them and you cut you mill the deck of them. Your chamber's gonna be even smaller. And I don't think that is a great idea. Like compression is good, but too compression is too much. It can be a bad thing, right? So these heads just fill the niche perfectly. You're going to be machining on them. You're going to be cutting them up, and they're cheap. So why wouldn't you use them, right? And this isn't just like, oh, in my area they're $50. I have bought in 4 sets of these heads now for $50 each. Okay, and this should be the going rate anywhere. So $50. That's what we're gonna say these costs. Okay, so let's look at the nearest comparison. Let's look at the cheapest aluminum Cleveland head I could find. All right, so now we've got to talk a little bit about Cleveland heads. Now I am not as knowledgeable on Cleveland heads as I am on LS things, obviously, and I apologize for that. But I went online and I started looking for I don't want to say the cheapest, but a cheap aluminum Cleveland cylinder head that was readily available, right? And I came across an Elderbrock head, part number 61629. They are readily available on Jegs and Summit. The price that I seen was right around $1,200, plus shipping, probably like $1,300, right? Now there are no doubt cheaper cylinder heads I would assume out there, but these I was also able to track down phone numbers, which will be the next thing we talk about is performance, but we're going to finish up price right now. You, you cannot beat the price for LS heads right now. That may change in the future as time marches on and more of these parts get crushed or get melted down to make new car parts or whatnot. But as of right now and for the foreseeable future, LS heads are cheap and plentiful and destroy any margin of cost to performance ratio when it comes to um, this particular modification for your Ford 300 engine, right? Price wise, you just cannot beat the LS head, but that might change. So with performance, right? If there's more performance in the Cleveland heads, maybe that $1,200 price tag makes sense. So we're gonna find that out next. But I'm getting again off topic, so let's move forward. All right. So anyway, we kind of got a little bit off topic, but let's wrap this part of it in the video up, okay? So price. Who wins on price? The clear de facto winner. And if you're trying to do that on a reasonable budget, you're not trying to change the world and rotate the earth under your tires and all that jazz, right? The clear winner are the LS heads for this project, okay? Just in price alone. So, like I said, now we're going to look at performance. We're going to look at some airflow numbers, right? Now, I was going to look at the Speedmaster heads, right? But can't find any reliable flow numbers on those heads. So we instead are going to look at these Elderbrock heads because I have actual flow numbers for them. They are available, and they're actually a little bit cheaper than the Speedmaster heads. Go figure. So we're going to take a look at these, all right? All right, so now we're into the performance category, right? And we're going to take a look at the Cleveland heads first. Why not, right? So we're going to be looking at these Elderbrock heads, part number here, and they're still readily available for about $1,300 from Jegs even, all right? So let's look at these flow numbers. All right, so I like to look at right around 500 to 600 thousandths of lift. That's kind of like the sweet spot. That's where most decent cams that are going to be streetable, you're going to want to run them. That's about right where they're going to be, okay? So, and we can see here that we're getting about 250 to 260 lift in that ballpark at that spot. And that's not too bad. I like to see that. That's very decent, okay? But yeah, remember, these are $1,200 heads, all right? So let's go ahead and take a look at the 317 heads and see what kind of flow those have. So I'll pull this up and we'll take a look at those. All right, so next up on the list is LS heads. Now, something to remember about these 317 heads is they actually have the same ports design, anyway, as the 799 and the 243 heads, which are the best cathedral port heads available for power. They actually have the same potential for airflow. And the only reason they make less power and therefore are not desirable is because of the huge chambers. But remember, we were taking care of that when we eventually weld them together and surface them flat. And we're going to take it off a good bit of material. In my case, I took off like 80,000 machine shop to get it straight. Next time I do it, I'll probably try to tweak the welding process a little bit to keep a little bit of that bow out. But that's neither here nor there. So let's take a look at this Caltech chart. Now this is a pretty big chart. I do trust Caltech in their what you want to say in their numbers. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at them right now. So we're going to focus down here at the bottom. And we're going to take a look at the intake ports for the OEM head, right? So that's no porting. That's all what you get out of the factory, okay? And if we go to our sweet zone right here, 500 to 600, which is where I like to look, we're getting between 256 and 251. And if you remember, the numbers on the other head were right there. And this is for a $50 head, right? Now, I know some of you guys are maybe you want a little bit more, right? And Caltech has you beat right there. So Caltech offers a $500 CNC program. You send your heads in there, they send them back to you CNC, right? And $500 bumps you up to 274 and 285 CFM at 500 600 lift respectively. That is amazing for the $500. So we have a $550 cylinder head now versus the $1,300 Cleveland heads. So not only on performance is our $50 head neck and neck with the Cleveland $13 head. But if we do want to spend $500, we can have even better flow, which is truly amazing in my opinion. But unneeded again. But this is just goes to show you that even in the performance ballpark category, LS heads again are out on top. And even if you do want to spend more money, you can spend almost $1,000 less and have a even better performing head. So we're gonna chalk this one up to LS winning again. So as far as cylinder heads go, price versus performance is usually all that really matters. That's the only things that we can put a value on and figure out which head we want to use. But I'm gonna go a little bit further, and we're gonna talk about a couple other odds and ends that should really help you decide if you haven't already. Now, the first thing I really want to like drive home is the camshaft. So for now, we're going to go talk about the Cleveland head first. So a camshaft for the Cleveland head is going to be expensive. It is not the same valve pattern as the 300. So you will be looking for a custom billet piece, which is going to be expensive. Now there are some benefits to getting a roller, to getting a custom billet camshaft immediately. You can convert to roller immediately, which is nice. That's a nice perk because that is one of the things I would like to do to my engine in the future. And like I said, it takes a roller cam. So if you are wanting to go a roller cam immediately, the Cleveland heads might be a bit more stomachal, might be a bit more to stomach because you need to do that. It is not something that you can wait on, but it is expensive, so it does add to the price. Now, as for the LS, for some odd reason, the LS cam pattern is the exact same as the 300. So what this means is if you bolt on your custom LS head onto your Ford 300 engine, the stock camshaft works. It just does. The intake and exhaust pattern on the cam matches the head. So you can use your stock cam. You can use any off-the-shelf cam. You can get a custom ground done. You can reground your stock cam. The options are there. Like I said, the only downside is if you do want to do roller at some point, you will need to buy a roller camshaft because unfortunately the stock Ford 300 never had a roller camshaft, so you would need to get a billet custom job. But for those that want the engine running sooner rather than later for the least amount of capital up front, you can't beat the stock cam in any off-the-shelf cam working for the project, right? Now, obviously, you'd probably want to get a custom grind done for the engine because I am sure that the characteristics of the factory head versus the LS head are different, and the cam should probably reflect that, right? But it's all available, and it is well within the budget of even the most moderate of tinkerers on engines. So again, that is a huge plus for the LS engine, as only those truly trying to get the most out of the engine need to go to roller in the first place, right? So that's a huge win for the LS. Now, talking about other odds and ends, the valve train is extremely affordable for the LS. I do not know off the top of my head what part for the Cleveland valve train would be, such as rockers and whatnot, but I do know that because of the popularity of the LS, there are tons of different rockers and you can shaft mount rockers and turn upgrades and all sorts of things that are readily available and affordable for your engine. So that again is a huge plus. And the last thing I can think of is the intake and exhaust manifolds, right? So as for your intake, you're going to need to make a custom piece regardless. Be it if you did it the way I did it, which probably isn't the best way to do it. For those need refresher, I bought a sheet metal aluminum intake from China. It was the cheapest one. I want to say it was $300. I cut it up, and then I had it welded for an additional $200. So I want to say in total it was a $500 intake. So I do not know what a fully custom intake would be from scratch. It may be $500. I do not know. If you are handy, that doesn't matter. You can do it yourself. But for the intake, that's something to think about. It's going to need to be custom either way. So this is kind of like a wash, right? The exhaust manifold, again, is kind of a custom piece. But for those that are going to be NA, two passenger side um, LS manifolds with one tube cut off and welded shut, because you can weld on the stock manifolds. They are cast steel and it welds very well. You can just weld up that one hole after cutting off, and you would have a nice dual exhaust system on your engine for no real money. So that again, it's kind of a wash because it's still going to be a custom piece. If you want something like a header or a turbo setup, it's still going to be about the same probably for either one. But it's something to think about. It's something to think about. Like I said, all the LS stuff is readily available. Let's talk about valve covers. If you're going to be cutting up a valve cover and welding it together, like I said, LS stuff is readily available for cutting up and cheap. Valve train parts are cheap. Um, it's just a really good time right now to be messing with LSNs. So obviously, you guys see where my bias lay, right? But I really can't think of much more to talk about in this particular video. So what I want you guys to do is, if you have any questions on anything that you think that you want to know about this particular modification for 4300, or the Cleveland heads, or the LS heads, or maybe another head. There is a argument to be made for the new 7.3 Godzilla gas engines from Ford to use their heads. There's an argument to be made there about using them. So anything you guys want to know or comment on, please leave me a comment on it, and maybe I'll make a follow-up video of this later on, a couple weeks from now, after I get all the comments and put together and get my thoughts on them, right? But yeah, that's it. I hope I cleared up some of the thoughts on this. I hope I presented my arguments clearly. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, which, if you did enjoy the video, please consider hitting that like button. And if you want to see more, please hit the subscribe button so that you will be notified when my videos come out. I appreciate everybody for watching, and this is Tall Garage signing out, and I'll talk to y'all later.